So one of the many things I really love about the ATS is, you know, it's kind of held up through the test of time. The LTG at first, I wasn't super convinced with it, but it's surprised me, and it surprises me every single time I drive it. Oh, you already know who it is. It's Ryan D of ZZP here, back with more road to horsepower. This time we're working with the Cadillac ATS, my wallpaper ATS here, and our technician Chris Boltman's all-wheel drive ATS here. And we're gonna tell you guys how to make 400 plus real horsepower in your Cadillac ATS. So guys, the LTG is a fantastic platform to get into, especially for either beginner modders or more experienced ones. What's great about it is it's in a lot of different vehicles and you get a lot of different ranges on. So you got all the way from your 13 to the ending year of the Cadillac ATS. So you can get every single year model and the 2.0 turbo. What's cool is you can get both the rear wheel drive and the all wheel drive in that same configuration. And a little more for the rare guys, there is a rear wheel drive stick shift 6-speed manual like my car here is more of a rare option, but that is out there too. Then also from in the year 16 and newer, you can get the LTG in the 2.0 Camaro, but that's for you Camaro guys. We got another video coming for you. So for the ATS, we actually have we have sedans here, but we also have coupes too. In 15 plus, you can get a coupe if you're 2 doors a little more your style. Factory to the crank, depending on the year you get, the cars will come in the higher 200s as far as crank horsepower, and then closer to around 300 crank torque. You know, on a dyno, typically most LTGs you'll see in the 220 to 230 wheel horsepower range, and then when tuning and the like, you'll get in the higher 200s as far as wheel horsepower, which is actually very phenomenal for these cars. So with that out of the way for the basics, so now you know the platform you can get. So let's talk about the things to do when you get an LTG. Obviously the cars are not in current production, a little bit older now, but there are great ways to make sure that your car stays up to date, stays healthy, stays happy. So the number one thing that we recommend is Mobil 1 ESP oil, 5W30 or 10W30, usually the go-to ones. There's a low ash oil that really helps with the low speed pre-ignition issues that the cars kind of came with from the factory. Also too, good quality premium fuel. Sorry Costco and Meyer, that fuel we found pretty consistently isn't that great. Go to your big brands, your Shell, your Speedway, your BP, your Mobil, stuff like that. Get a good quality 91 or 93 octane premium fuel in the vehicles. That's gonna give you a great base to start. And two more quick things. Number one, get a good set of spark plugs in the car. Spark plugs are very important for making sure you're resisting knock and not breaking up and causing a chance for a failure. And then on top of that too, factory, doing a top speed 400 pedal all the way until you can't stop anymore. That may not be so good for the engines in factory form at least. Once you build up a little bit, especially what we're gonna talk about in this video, easy peasy, no problem. So let's get you guys on that road to horsepower right away. Step number one, for this, you really wanna look at our ATS Stage 1 kit. Our ATS Stage 1 kit includes 3 major components that'll be a fantastic method for you to build up on the foundation. And what's cool is you don't have to replace any of these parts. It comes with number one, our ZZP ATS cold air intake, which comes with its own air box, a MAV tube, and a coupler to go right to your factory turbo and upgraded turbos, which is even cooler. One of my favorite mods, you know, overall is, again, that cold air intake. You know, I'll even kind of just get on it, you know, just a little bit just to hear the turbo spool a little bit, so. Like that. So, you know, you'll be able to get on the car and get that, you know, what we like to call around here is smiles per gallon. You get a lot of that just from that mod, and it's going to add more power and be, you know, less restricted than your factory intake. And then your factory upgraded LTG downpipe for the longitudinal north-south facing engines. What's cool is this bolts up to both pretty much all the versions of the ATS, you know, whether it be coupe, all-wheel drive, sedan, manual, doesn't matter, bolts up to all of them, and you don't even need to replace that. So it's kind of a one-time buy, you build off our Stage 1 kit, and you keep going from there. The ATS cold air intake is something that you can keep with the cars like pretty much the entire life to 400 plus horsepower. This is the original one that I bought for the car, that when I was on stock turbo, and it bolts right onto the Z57. I've been through a Z57, Z54, 6758, and 7163. So they are all turbos you can still use with both our downpipe and our cold air intake. Cold intake obviously gives you that same kind of turbo whistle, turbo noise that so many people want to hear. So you don't even need an external blow-off valve for it. The downpipe gets rid of KR, increases spool time a little bit, and it's going to help flow, keep all the exhaust, flowing outward. So as you know, air in, exhaust out. Along with our stage 1 kit, we do have a few different ways that you can actually tune the vehicle. There's some more recommended ways than others, so I'm gonna go over those super quick. So in our tuning options for the ATS CTS Camaro PCM tune, we have usually a sending in core first, where you remove your PCM and then actually send it to us. We bench flash it, send it back to you. Great way to have the tune on the car, very simple. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. The second one is we send you a new core that unfortunately it won't be synced to all your BCM, so you will lose your remote start if you have remote start on your vehicle. That's just another way to do it. But the best way we can recommend a tune is remote tuning via HP tuners. It is huge, guys. So for the other ways, we know how the car should react, but if you have different fuel, your fuel quality isn't up, and we make it too aggressive, you have to send it back in for us, turn it down a little bit. For us with HP tuners, we get to physically see what is going on with your vehicle. Data logging, that's part of the whole process. So say you have a track day and you email our tuner and say, hey, I want to go to the track this weekend, and I am going to, I want to run some, 110 and E85 and things like that. So our tuner can at that point allow you to say, hey, all right, I can give you a more aggressive tune, but this is only for, this type of fuel and X amount of fuel quality. So if you're mixing 110 and, E85, make sure it's at this and send me a log real quick. But don't only go through one gear, and then that's something we can do. Which is nice for, optimizing your drive time. If you have HP tuners, you can do that. Usually, you'll see up from factory, you'll see anywhere from 40 to 60 horsepower of an increase depending on your fuel quality, and then 60 to 80 foot-pounds of torque over stock. So that's a massive jump. The next thing I'm going to suggest that you do is grab our Stage 2 kit. What's nice is the Stage 2 kit by itself doesn't need any direct tuning. The Stage 2 kit is our LTG intercooler package, which is insanely affordable. Factory, the intercooler is actually sandwiched between the AC condenser and the radiator. Not a great spot for getting airflow in. Not terrible, but not great. But ours moves it right in front so that you get that airflow right in front. Obviously when you're doing pulls and you're going out and you're having fun with your friends and stuff, it's better to keep the car safer than not. Especially if you're doing long pulls and doing multiple gears of full throttle. Just because it is, it's going to be hard on the car and the intake temps and the like. So the intercooler is really a underrated model. Especially if you're doing back-to-back runs and you're racing your buddy that you just couldn't beat before. It's going to keep the heat down, keep the knock down, make sure you maintain the power that you need to maintain. Very important mod, super good for maintenance too, as our factory intercooler piping is all plastic, tends to break, tends to crack, not super great. To go along with our downpipe, you get our Catback. The Catback is the best mod you can do for sound on these cars. It's fantastic. I love the sound of it. I love how it's not super drony. It's a little bit lighter than stock. Gets rid of the huge suitcase muffler. Makes the car sound actually really good. Then on top of that, lightens it up, and then make sure you're set up to go larger turbo, which we will need, because as remember, air in, exhaust out. Gotta make sure everything is flowing right, no restrictions, no small diameter piping. You gotta make sure that you're taking care of that fairly early on. Following the path of air, from the intercooler, here's a little additional mod you can do next. Next is our LTG larger throttle body kit. This is a really important one to do with the intercooler package or the Stage 2 package, because it bolts right on, doesn't even need extra tuning. It's gonna give a little more throttle response and actually set you up for making more power when you're on a larger turbo that may be a little laggier. So when you're actually getting into it and stuff, you downshift the car's gonna respond just a little bit better, and then as flow gets better, power is gonna get better with that too. So make sure you're doing that. Also with our Stage 1 and Stage 2 kit, something that I cannot recommend enough is our Flex Fuel kit. Our Flex Fuel kit is gonna allow the car to have the factory capability of adjusting timing and the like on the fly depending on your ethanol percentages. If you're traveling across the country with the Flex Fuel kit and you don't have E85, you can just put 93 in it and you keep driving. You can even beat on the car a little bit and not have any sort of worries. The Flex Fuel kit is something I would recommend for any car that is available or has the option to do it, because why not? Factory fuel system, the LTGs can't handle too much ethanol without running out, because direct injection cars run off of fuel pressure. in non-direct injection cars, your port injector cars, older vehicles, you can just put large injectors in. That's pretty much all you need. These cars command a certain amount of fuel pressure, so you will need to up that. We'll get to that later. But factory, you can run a E47 mix, which is 50% premium fuel, 50% E85, good quality on both ends, and you'll be able to, get about 6 to 8% more power, knock resistance, and keep your same fuel economy for the most part. So I know some of you guys out there worried about that fuel economy stuff. So it's a great way to actually, up the car's power, up the ability for the vehicle to stay safe, because obviously E85 burns cooler and you get a little more knock resistance, and overall make the car happier. And then if you buy all of it at the same time, you really kind of only have to tune for the flex fuel kit and everything once. The flex fuel kit, the intake, all these parts we're talking about, you tune for it once, kind of a one and done, and then you kind of maximize your stock turbo, almost. Now guys, we're gonna start getting to the nitty gritty of the LTG engine. This is where we kind of need to start investing a little bit more. The next mods that are going to be very important on the road to 400 horsepower is going to be our LTG stage cams. For a larger turbo, you want to do our stage 3. For a more factory size, smaller turbo, you're going to want to run with our stage 2 cams. These cams are really beneficial. What's cool about these cars is it's a variable valve timing car, so you can actually just put them in and kind of drive on the car. Don't recommend it because you're not going to see your power increase. But what you can do is put them in, wait to get tuned with them, and then dial them in. I've road coursed on them. I've beat the style of the car in any sort of situation with my son in the car. It's such a worth it set of mods. Sorry, I had to have a little fun there, guys. So yeah, and then obviously they're going to increase spool time, which is half the fun with these cars. Your tuner can set them up in very particular ways. It's a really great mod. You really don't notice any drivability difference, no gas mileage loss. It's a no loss mod, guys. Also, what's great about it is it also has a specially machined fuel pump lobe that you can actually stroke your high pressure fuel pump for you guys with the flex fuel sensor like we just mentioned. You actually want to get that so you can stroke high pressure fuel pump to deliver all the fuel pressure that the vehicle is wanting to run full E85. So with this mod, or at least at minimum our LTG intake cam with modified fuel lobe, you'll be able to run full E85 on a stockish turbo. Along with the cams, though, we high suggest our LTG 82-pound valve springs titanium retainers. Retainers are actually a wear and tear item. A lot of people don't really realize this, but over time they wear out, you get valve float, you start losing power in your upper RPM once the engine, like a 4-cylinder does, is gonna start really revving up and really making all that power that it wants to make. A good set of valve springs, I know some people that replace them every 3 or 4 years, but a good set of valve springs will make sure to bring all the power back, stiffen everything up, and make the car a lot happier. And it's gonna be 100% mandatory to use with our cams and when we go to our larger turbo. So make sure to get your cams and valve springs in there. It's gonna be super important that you guys gotta make sure to do, all right? Next thing we're gonna kind of move down to, I'm gonna talk about this all in one. It's gonna be forging your bottom end. So with forging your bottom end, there are 3 main components that you really wanna look at. We have our JE Forged LTG pistons, our ZZP 4340 rods, and then our ZZP LTG head studs. All 3 of those should kind of go in all together, because factory bottom end, you may get lucky and get one that survives, but most of them aren't going to really last too much longer over 320, 330 wheel horsepower. So what's nice about a forged engine is that it's actually on these cars more reliable than the OEM engine. Doesn't happen too often, but it's pretty cool. This car's been making over 500 wheel horsepower for the last 4 or 5 years on a built engine. And I'm not very nice to this car at all. I kind of beat the snot out of it. We here at ZZPerformance, you can submit a service request and bring your LTG to us. We can build you an engine. As long as you treat it right, it'll survive right. Again, going at over 500 horsepower, beating the absolute snot out of this thing, going on 5 years now. So it's definitely very possible to keep these cars together, keep them happy, and make a lot of power. Do the forged bottom end. You will not regret it. So the last and probably most important piece, along with everything else that we've been talking about, is your turbo. So we have 2 different turbos that you guys are going to want to look at for 400 plus, and that's going to be our Z series turbos, our Z54 or Z57, or our ZFR series turbos, our 6758, 7163. For 400 plus, you really kind of want to be looking at your 7163 or Z57. I personally run a Z57 on my car, and that's Tyler in the Camaro VDC runs that same thing on his vehicle. And we are really happy. The cars love them. What's different about the LTG is even with a larger turbo, they kind of make a lot of torque. A lot of 4-cylinders, when you put a larger turbo on there, they don't, they just drop in torque, obviously, you know, because you're making power with RPM. Versus the LTG, with its variable valve timing and everything, it's actually pretty good on torque. The LTG with variable valve timing minimizes the lag that you can get, and your tuner can really bring in the turbo, you know, fairly close as you can to stock. Obviously, stock turbo small, so it's never going to be quite like that, but it's going to minimize the amount of lag that you're actually going to get. And then from there, you know, you can, you know, make all the power, make it all the way to red line versus your stock turbo falls off in above 5,000 RPM. It's going to be able to make power all the way to red line. If you have an auto car, it's going to shift fast, going to hold boost. If you have a manual car, it has no lift shift available, so you can just keep the boost pressure up, and it's going to make the car night-and-day difference, much faster, not even close to a stock car. So that is very, very important to keep these cars happy, to make sure all the boost is kept up on them, and then to make sure that you're making the power you want. And what's nice is, down the line, depending on your fuel quality, you can turn it up more and more and be capable of making those higher numbers, you know, without having to do any sort of crazy manifold. Because remember, this is still on the stock turbo manifold, which is awesome. So it's just a bolt-on turbo. We have our Z Series carry a 2-year warranty on them. They're reliable, and then you can beat the snot of the car every day, hear all the great turbo sounds, all the great turbo whistles, and just have fun with the car. Because remember, first and foremost, that is what's most important. Have fun and to keep it reliable. After that, a small maintenance item that I just want to bring up, it's a very good one to do, is our LTG catch can system. These cars, they do get a little, you know, oily in the PCV system. They can be a little more, one of the more failure points. What's nice is the catch can will kind of keep all that stuff in there, keep it from going back in your engine, or at least keep out the intake so the car doesn't smoke and, you know, get all those annoying, you know, feelings and annoying, embarrassing moments of, you know, your car is smoking while you're sitting at idle and the like. A healthy PCV system is going to be number one. Obviously, a catch can will never fix a healthy PCV system, or a broken PCV system rather, but it will band-aid it, you know, to kind of keep it off, you know, keep everything happy and everything together, essentially. So, kind of like Tim did in our Sonic video, I'm going to kind of bite off of that a little bit and kind of mention a few suspension mods. Not many, because I'm more of a minimalist when it comes to this stuff, but, you know, sometimes you got to look good and do the most important stuff like stopping. So what I want to mention is our few brake kits that we have for these cars. The ATS are quite a bit heavier than like other cars, so they're about in the mid 3000s for weight, sometimes upwards of that. So stopping is very important. We have our 6-piston upgrade kit for the front of the ATS, like you see on my car right here. We have our ZZP calipers, larger brake rotors, to really get the car stopping like it should, and then you can get some good either Brembo pads, or you can get some AC Delco, you know, semi-metallic or ceramic pads that will actually help the car to stop quite a bit better than it does factory. You know, the factory 4 pistons are fantastic as well. They still do work extremely well. Not quite as good as the 6, but still have some good braking, you know, that'll allow you to make sure you have a good pad underneath it and, you know, stop properly when you're going fast. And then for the rear of the car, we have our upgraded 4-piston brake kit that will allow you to, obviously the car is, you know, front biased, but more stopping power on the back and a little bit for the looks too. You know, you get a little bit of both worlds, you know, get a, you know, form mod and a function mod at the same time, which is very, very important for these cars. Sometimes I'm a big believer in looking good and going fast. It's a great balance fad for both of them. Then 2, for traction, especially if you're doing a lot of drag strip stuff, we do have our ATS trailing arms. Trailing arms will actually help you launch the car a little bit better, get rid of all that slop back there, helps with turning, helps doing anything you want on a road course. It's gonna help get all the slop out of the rear end. And that's a fantastic mod that you really should be doing, whether you're going in a straight line or around corners. And then also, lastly, our ATS coilovers. If you want the adjustability, you know, to be able to lower the vehicle, as well as, you know, ability to, you know, set up the handling and how you want to oversteer or understeer and the like, then absolutely, definitely grab the coilovers. Is it exactly like a factory ATS? No, but I don't want that feeling either. You know, I like a little bit of a slightly sportier feeling, so you can feel the road just a little bit more. But I have it set up so it's not crazy low or anything like that, and it responds so well. It drives well. It handles well. It does everything well. Our ATS coilovers are huge for getting the car exactly where you want as far as height. Lower center of gravity is better for turning, and, you know, just an overall better stance on the vehicle too. It can be a safety mod as well if your stock, you know, struts aren't doing so hot. So those are all mods that are kind of go along with the road to horsepower, because to go fast, you got to stop fast too. You know what I mean? But yeah, guys, these cars are potent, these cars are quick, they're fun. It's a good car on the interior and exterior, and there's lots of things you can do to it. So please feel free. If you have any questions, email customer service at ZZPerformance.com. It'll probably be either me or Tyler answering you anyway. So we're happy to help you out. If you have any questions about what to do on your car, how to make it stop better, how to make it go faster, we're here for you and try to troubleshoot any sort of issues you may have as well. Guys, once again, Ryan D at ZZP back at it with another Road to Horsepower, my wallpaper ATS, Chris Boatman's all-wheel drive ATS. We'll catch you next time.